trained individuals don't freak me out all that much.
I went to Pike High School. We did have a school resource officer who was on campus, to my knowledge, every day, and who was armed. Columbine was another shooting where there was an armed guard. I guess I'm just curious. Is it a question of scale? Is it how many people are armed on the campus? Is that what you think is more necessary?
It depends on the circumstance.
Because the fact is that there are instances where they are.
Absolutely. Sometimes it is about scale, right? If you've got a campus that has thousands of kids and is, 3 blocks wide, having one officer with a weapon is better than none. But as I said at the beginning, this is not going to end all shootings. Period. It's just not. It does not. Well, let me ask you something. Because you had that officer there who was armed at your Fife High School, is it possible that a student who maybe had some sort of nefarious intent, ill intent, chose not to carry through with it because they thought that there would be some resistance? I can't prove that. But I know that we exist in a world in which we abide by a simple rule. Why do we give out tickets to people? Why do we punish people and throw them in jail? Because we believe, on the whole, that is a disincentive to do whatever it is that you were otherwise going to do. You don't speed because of the fear of getting a ticket. Now, tickets are still given out. Speeding tickets are still given out. People still break laws. But our general belief system is, if we can, thanks to that rule, thanks to that policy, if we can stop enough people from doing this act that we don't want, then we consider that at least partially a win. When a cop is around, do you speak? I don't. I get like crazy nervous in the car because I don't want to get pulled over. We allow that logic to run a good portion of our lives, and yet when it comes to protecting kids, that idea is just pushed aside by the left because it has to do with the Second Amendment, an amendment that they don't actually respect or care about. That is troubling. Not the end-all be-all. We're never going to find an end-all be-all if we want to have an honest conversation. We're never going to prevent tragedy from happening. In countries where guns are banned, there are still tragedies involving guns. You're listening to The Jason Ranch Show. If you want to join the conversation, send me a tweet, twitter.com/JasonRanch Show. It's time to get you to work the right way with Right Way Traffic.
Seeing major improvements in traffic now. Let me just go over the overview for you. We're still seeing a little slowing from Lacey up to the JBLM main gate, but it's not very tightly packed right now. Slowing on eastbound 512. It starts at Canyon, ends at South Hill Mall. And then you've got to get close to Highway 18 before you slow again. And there on northbound 167 is kind of a parking lot between there and 516. Northbound 5 through Federal Way in much better shape. S-curves jammed, but only from about the Maple Valley Highway up through Sunset. Southbound 405, heavy from Filbert all the way down through Sunset, on and off express toll lanes, topping out at $6.50 right now. That's the most expensive you'll pay. South 5, heavy from Alderwood down to Shoreline, and then I'm seeing a real dense slowdown coming up on the Ship Canal Bridge. I hope there's nothing new here. This report brought to you by Unbound. That's AM 770 KTTH traffic.
Hey, it's Todd Herman here with Dr. Lee Yardley, D.C. You know, Doctor, your approach to healthcare is to look at the person as a whole, not the label they bring on and the conditions they're dealing with. And you see people in all stages of life. Is there a common theme?
Usually they've knocked on many doors before they came here. They haven't given up hope completely, otherwise there wouldn't be a appearing in my office.
I see people, they want to tough things out, right? And they'll say things like, it's not really pain, my knees are just clicking. Right? Is there a time where it's too young?
No, because if there isn't a compromise in the brain-body connection, they don't need our care. And our testing will show that. We don't accept everyone for care.
Right.
But we do help the vast majority of those that come in for care.
You know, it's not about your age, it's about the life you want to be living. So whether you're an older person or a young person, or you're like me, an old guy who does young guy things, it's time to take care of your body in the same way you take care of the other things you value by focusing on the whole thing, not just the condition that someone named for you. Find out if Dr. Yardley can help you get healthy again. Schedule your free consultation today at yardleyinstitute.org. Again, that's yardleyinstitute.org.
Hello, beautiful. I'm Amy Eric, founder of Madison Reed, a hair color company I named after my daughter. One of the things I value most in life is time. Time to spend with my daughter, time to spend with family, and the time I put into my company that's reinventing the way women color their hair. The busiest, most successful women I know use Madison Reed. The color hat. In under an hour and for less than $25, Madison Reed delivers gorgeous, shiny, multi-dimensional, healthy-looking hair with an ammonia-free formula. You'll look like you just came from a salon, but the reality is you have more me time to do what you love. Things get busy. Let us take care of you and your hair. Find your perfect shade at madison-reed.com and get 10% off plus free shipping on your first color kit. Use code Seattle Radio. That's code Seattle Radio. Try it. Love it. That's the beauty of Madison Reed.
This is Justin Stiefel, co-founder and CEO of Heritage Distilling Company in Gig Harbor, Washington, a Pacific Northwest family-owned craft distillery. We are proud to support our military personnel and their families who sacrifice so much for us. Thanks to your purchases of our last bottling run of Special Forces Bourbon, we were able to donate $35,000 additional dollars to the Special Forces chapter at JBLM this December. This brings our total donations for Special Forces Bourbon to almost $80,000 for the last 3 years. If you missed out on our third bottling run of Special Forces Bourbon, don't worry, we'll have a new bottling run out in the spring. And while that edition of bourbon is sold out, we are offering 20% discounts on all.
Reducing the likelihood of a catastrophic front-end collision. The Outback is your co-pilot on our hectic roads. Go test drive one today at Carter Subaru. They're in Shoreline or Ballard.
A documentary service fee up to $150 may be added to the sale price or capitalized costs.
I'm Bobby Wagner, honorary GM of Beacon Plumbing. We know your home is your most important investment. So when that pipe bursts, stop freaking and call Beacon Plumbing, Heating, and Mechanical at 1-800-FREAKING.
Cairo Radio, 97.3 FM, where the 12s hear the Hawks.
Cairo Radio, 97.3 FM, streaming on every device from the Carter Subaru Studios. Stories that matter, opinions that bring perspective. This is where you find out why. KIRO FM, Tacoma, Seattle.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Fisher Investments.
I'm Steve Kaith, and the morning after he met with families of mass shooting victims, President Trump tweeted support for some tougher gun measures. CBS's Steve Dorsey says the president is sitting down with others now, vowing to take action.
Previewing his meeting on Twitter, the president wrote it'll focus on school safety. Mr. Trump said it's been many years of all talk, no action, we'll get it done. He says next week he'll meet with governors. It follows earlier tweets in which he called for comprehensive background checks and arming some teachers. He also defended the NRA and its leaders, calling them great American patriots.
NRA CEO Wayne LaPierre took aim at his organization's critics at a conservative event in Washington.
Chris Murphy, Nancy Pelosi, and more, cheered on by the national media, eager to blame the NRA and call for even more government control. They hate the Second Amendment. They hate individual freedom.
He blamed the FBI for dropping the ball on the accused gunman and said schools are soft targets that need to be toughened. Funeral services today for the beloved football coach who was one of 17 killed last week in Parkland, Florida. And a pastor echoed students who say Aaron Feist shielded others during the chaos.
We're all Douglas. We're all Eagles today. We honor the life of Coach Aaron Feist and the way he lived his life and the way he gave his life.
The Red Cross is opening shelters in some states in the nation's midsection as floodwaters continue their destructive rise. State of emergency has been declared in Goshen, Indiana, and in some areas around Lansing, Michigan. In South Holland, Illinois, the home Casimir Bailey moved into just a few months ago is swamped.
Everything is floating, so everything is at about windowsill level floating in the water, and it's about maybe an inch under a doorknob.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions has announced new law enforcement action in a crackdown on people and groups that prey on the elderly.
We have charged more than 200 defendants for committing elder fraud schemes and have brought civil actions against dozens more.
The U.S. women took hockey gold at the Olympics with a 3-2 win over arch-rival Canada. Goaltender Maddie Rooney made the key save in a shootout to secure the win.
This means everything. I mean, I've been dreaming about this since I was a little girl.
And with more Americans intrigued by the sport of curling, the U.S. men's team pulled an upset over powerhouse Canada, who advanced to the gold medal match. Wall Street right now, the Dow is up 347 points, NASDAQ up 59. This is CBS News.
Fisher Investments, helping people achieve a comfortable retirement for over 35 years. Learn what makes Fisher Investments different at FisherInvestments.com.
The Federal Way School District is the latest to cancel classes
Bingo Paul Bingo players receive 50% off 9 on purchases every Thursday. Win big and save 50% at Muckleshoot Bingo. That's your Cairo Radio real-time traffic. I'm Emery Martin.
Cairo Radio News, 97.3 FM.
This morning, the snow and ice made for some very treacherous driving conditions. Our afternoon traffic reporter, Tracy Taylor, was involved in a rear-end collision while live on Cairo 7.
167 is all shut down, so how are you going to get to an accident? We were just in an accident. We were just rear-ended. So are you guys okay? Are you okay?
Okay. Pull over. Pull over,
hit my head pretty good.
Yeah, pull over. Make sure you're okay.
All right.
And she is okay. She does not have a concussion, but she will not be on our air this afternoon so she can recover. The State Patrol has responded to dozens of crashes and spin-outs already this morning. Some advice?
If worst case scenario, you do get involved in a collision, know that the State Patrol is on their way to help you. We have to prioritize by injuries first, and just stay inside your vehicle until we get there.
And we could get more snow today and tomorrow. We're going to have details in our weather forecast in just a minute. The day after the Florida shooting, a student at Seattle's Garfield High School was arrested for threatening to kill his classmates. We've now learned from a police report that the student has made this threat before, and at one point, when a student reported the threats, a school staff member nervously laughed and then didn't call police. The district has not said if that teacher has been disciplined. Today at the King County Courthouse, a support center for victims of child sex abuse and domestic violence is opening. It's also home to a new firearms enforcement team, as we hear from Cairo Radio's Hannah Scott.
King County Prosecutor Dan Satterberg says a top priority for the firearms enforcement team will be extreme risk protection orders, which allow people to ask the court to take somebody's guns away if they're in mental health crisis or talking about suicide or murder.
We've preached the code. If you see something, say something. But if you're going to say something, somebody has to be there to listen and to act.
The team will help families start the process of getting extreme risk protection orders and make sure those people actually hand over their guns. Ellie's Place will also house the Children's Justice Center, which provides support and services for child sex abuse victims, and Project Safety, which provides legal help.
Now for your weather forecast.
You're looking at a lot of sunshine today. High temperatures will be in the upper 30s, a little gusty north wind. Now tomorrow, increasing clouds, and in the afternoon, I do think another round of snow, and eventually snow and wet snow will move through, so keep that in mind in the 30s. I'm Cairo 7 pinpoint meteorologist Nick Allard.
Okay, good. So it sounds like no more snow today. It is 32 degrees now in downtown Seattle. I'm Ursula Boyteen.
On demand with the Cairo Radio app. Cairo Radio News, 97.3 FM.
Got it. Thank you, Ursula. All right, here we go. I hope you noted how the last thing that was about last night was the safety of children. It had nothing to do with what was going on last night. Anyway, greetings, folks. As always, great to have you with us, and thank you for joining us. Telephone number, if you want to be on the program, Rush Limbaugh here at 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbaugh@eibnet.us. The media just cannot stop fawning over the courage and the high moral standing of the Parkland students, those who rushed the stage last night at the CNN so-called town hall and told NRA spokeswoman Dana Loesch that they wished she would burn, meaning literally burn or burn in hell. It wasn't just Parkland students in this crowd last night. I think it was about 5,000 people there. And the moderator, Jake Tapper, didn't do very much at all to keep the thing civil and to keep it going. And Dana Loesch and Marco Rubio basically showed up to be thrown to the lions, is what happened last night. And that's exactly, there was no appreciation shown. There was no, you can't reach across the aisle with these people, folks. You cannot. It just isn't possible. They're not there for that. Those people in that crowd last night were not there for any kind of understanding. They were not there for any kind of agreement. They were not there to cross the aisle, compromise, any of that. They weren't there to learn anything. And they weren't there to get to the bottom of what happened. They weren't there to protect the lives of children. That's not what this thing was about last night. This thing was a vehicle for frustrated leftists to once again vent their hatred and vent their outrage over the fact that they were rejected at the ballot box in November of 2016. If you were one of them, you'd be mad too. Everything they believe in bombs, blows up, and doesn't work, from Obama administration policies to ways they want to make children safer. I mean, if you boil it all down, the government cannot protect your kids at school. It's the government in charge of it. It's either a state government, elements of the national government, certainly elements of local government. They can't keep your kids safe. There have been no changes in techniques, stratagems to keep kids safe since Columbine. There are no changes. All there has ever been is an outraged, petulant, childish cry and demand, and a spewing of hatred for the NRA. Meanwhile, actually stopping these events, discussing ways to prevent and stop these events, is met with jeering and allegations of racism and bigotry, the usual insults that the left begins to shout. They are vacant intellectually, they are vacant in terms of ideas, and they are governed entirely by a continuing and building rage and hatred for anything that is in opposition to what they claim to believe. It was reported, was it not, early on that this perp, Nicholas Cruz was bullied in this school. Is that true, Mr. Snerdley? Have you read that that's one of the features? You read that he was the bully, that Nicholas Cruz was not necessarily bullied, that bullying this Nicholas Cruz had nothing to do with turning him to the monster that he was the bully, that he was the aggressor. You sure you haven't seen anywhere that he was bullied? Do that. Double check for me. Find out. It shouldn't be difficult. A keyword search at DuckDuckGo if you don't want your search to be tracked, or Google if you want Silicon Valley to know what you're thinking and doing. Just in your search term, just put Nicholas Cruz and bullying. See what you get. See what happens. We'll get into this in more detail, but it was exactly what I thought this event was going to be. It's exactly what I predicted that it was going to be. And I'm not being lazy and copping out by saying, hey, I told you it was going to be that way. That's not the point. The point is anybody could tell what this was going to be from the moment CNN puts their countdown clock up there. It didn't take long for anybody to realize what was really the purpose of this so-called town hall last night. And I asked the question, what's the point of showing up? And I know the Republicans will say, Rush, we have to show up. We can't live in a vacuum here. We got to show up. We got to meet them. We got to try to reach them. We got to reach across the aisle. We got to try to make them understand. This is not the place to do it. An event sponsored by and moderated by CNN is not the place to do this. It's a setup. It always will be a setup. There is never a circumstance where it is otherwise. It's always a setup for the Republicans/conservatives who were there. So Mr. Snerdley's search is proving fruitful, because I thought I had seen this. Can you give me a source for what you're typing up there? Can you? Miami Herald. Nicholas Cruz was mocked, he was ridiculed, and he was bullied. He was ostracized for his odd behavior. Now, granted, this is not reported frequently, because this guy is the villain, and reporting on him as a victim of being bullied, it makes him a victim. Obviously, we can't have that. But I just have to observe that there you have it, right smack dab in the middle of the Miami Herald. He was mocked, he was ridiculed, he was bullied, ostracized for his odd behavior. Could we throw in the mix that that might be one of the reasons why he flipped out? Could we say that? Well, it is said about others quite frequently. They were bullied, they were mocked, they were laughed at, they were made fun of. If we say that, and if we point that out, then upon whom does that fall? Who did the bullying? Who was doing the mocking? Who was doing the ridiculing? And who was doing the laughing? Who was unmercifully making fun of Nicholas Cruz? I will leave it to you to answer the question. And then fill in the blank. Because the leftist advocates here are solely focused on the NRA and want you to blame them and the gun. I am amazed. I really am, at how little anger there is at the shooter. Look at the venom for Marco Rubio and Dana Loesch last night. Look at the literal, raw, almost out of control hatred for two people that had nothing to do with it. Except in the eyes of the media and some of the attendees last night, they had everything to do with it because one of them's a spokesman for the NRA and the other one takes money from the NRA. So in that convoluted world, it makes them responsible. In fact, not only is there no anger aimed at Nicholas Cruz, there is some sympathy. See, this is part of the way this is done. There can be only one villain here, and it has, well, two villains, the NRA and the gun. And then, of course, the subset consisting of people accused of supporting the NRA and accepting money from the NRA. Why is there not much anger at the guy who actually murdered 17 students? But the level of outrage. I'll tell you something else. At this rally last night, and that's what it was. It was a rally. It was not a town hall. All 5,000 people there last night were not students. The entire student body at the Parkland High School was not there. Some were there. So I wonder how it was staffed. And yes, the audience was staffed. I wonder how it was assembled and put together. But regardless, whatever it was a setup. Now contrast that with the meeting in the White House yesterday afternoon that President Trump decided to televise in its entirety. That was something that we haven't seen before. It was an actual, it was heralded and promoted, advertised as a listening event, and that's exactly what the president did. He sat there and listened, and he listened to points of view from all over the place. And even those who were enraged and angry and still upset over what happened still thanked the president for hosting the meeting, thanked the president for his leadership. That meeting in the White House yesterday had to further enrage and anger the media and the left watching it, because they wanted the people in that meeting to be universally opposed to Trump and engaged in the same kind of hatred that CNN put on last night. They wanted to see that. They did it in the state dining room of the White House. But that is not what happened. They tell us that Donald Trump is unstable. They tell us that Donald Trump is erratic. That Donald Trump is unpredictable. That Donald Trump is uncontrollable. That Donald Trump is a ticking time bomb. Whatever it is, they use to describe a volatile, out-of-control personality. And yet, what did everybody see? We saw a calm, respectful, president of the United States who genuinely seemed engaged in problem solving. We saw an adult. And you know, there was an interview after the event, and I was watching it. I think it was CNN actually. They had some guest on there. You know, we haven't seen anything like this in the White House in 10, 15 years. We haven't seen anything like this. He was complimentary about it. I said, wait a minute, we saw this all kinds of times when Obama did these kinds of things all the time, except, Obama did a job summit, summit on the stimulus bill, a summit there, summit there. Every one of them was about Obama. And I found it interesting, this guest did not remember that Obama did a bunch of these kinds of meetings in the White House. Remember the meetings Obama was famous for? I remember Thomas L. Friedman of the New York Times attended the one on jobs. Oh, but Obama did a job summit. Might have been the state dining room as well. Obama had a bunch of people. He assigned them into groups of 4 and then sent each group to a corner of the room where they were to meet, come up with solutions, and then return to the center of the room at 5 p.m. to report to Obama, at which time Obama announced the problems solved. I got the biggest kick out of that because it was classic liberalism. Don't solve anything, just talk about it. Put people who are allegedly the smartest people ever, put them in the room, have them sit there and talk about things and announce their conclusions, with Obama as headmaster accepting the recommendations at the end of the day at 5 p.m. Problem solved. Media talked about it. It was the most wonderful thing. After every one of them, the media was practically in permanent orgasm on the days that Obama did these things. And yet there's a guest on CNN. And we haven't seen anything like this in the White House 10 and 15 years, maybe longer. CNN last night was a facilitator of and a promoter of rage, of anger, and deranged, unhinged, barely civil behavior. There was no intention on the part of anybody in that room to listen to anybody who was not on the same page. If you watched the Trump meeting in the White House, it felt like a conversation, and every person that spoke was treated with respect and was not derided, was not mocked, was not laughed at, was not made fun of. Many were applauded. It was real. It wasn't scripted. It was real and it was genuine, and you could tell that the people who were there participating knew it was real. They knew that they weren't props. None of them acted offended. None of them insulted Trump by rote. And there were a lot of Parkland students there. And not all of them are supporters of Trump, but every one of them was respectful. You didn't see any respect at all last night on CNN. I'm sure that hard left viewers, socialists, communists, Democrats were probably thrilled with what happened on CNN last night. But nothing was accomplished. I'd take it back. A lot was accomplished. The NRA was bashed. The career of Marco Rubio was bashed as the Republicans, conservatives were bashed, were insulted, were the targets of a barely controllable rage. But in terms of having anything meaningful toward a solution, the CNN event may as well not have even happened. Take a brief time out. We'll continue after this.
He didn't start it, but he'll be happy to finish it. Rush on the EIB network.
And a town hall with Marco Rubio and some very angry parents. See all of Cairo Radio's exciting contests, events, and promotions, and find official contest rules at CairoRadio.com/win. That's CairoRadio.com/win for the latest contests, events, and contest rules.
Land Shark Lager and Margaritaville Tequila present